Hello everybody, welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster here once again, looking at our midweek selections and specifically at Thursday the 16th of July. We've got two running for you at Hamilton where there's an excellent meeting on Thursday afternoon. First, very quickly about last weekend's selections and the main tip for you. Mahatha absolutely did the business. He really hacked up in the Group 2 Summer Mile at Ascot. I hope you were on. We recommended him at 5-2. He was back down to 2-1 and he turned what looked a very competitive race into a procession. He could possibly be the best miler around, and I think it's going to take a very good one to beat him this season, and it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for the Sussex Stakes and takes all the beating there. So Mahatha was a terrific success, the main selection on Saturday. We were half right and half wrong about the other two. We fancied a surprise in the July Cup. We thought Southern Hills might go well. We recommended him at 40s. He was back down to 28, but he didn't run his race at all. He was disappointing. There was a surprise though, we were right about that. And it was Oxted who won in terrific fashion for Roger Teal, and congratulations to him. It was a great success. And also the other selection on Saturday was in Ireland. We didn't fancy the British raider Zabil Prince, who was odds on and drifted to 5-4. He finished 5th in the end. He was a false favourite. We thought there'd be one to beat him. We went with Guaranteed, but he just didn't pick up as well as expected, and in the end proved a little disappointing. So it was a mixed bag, but the main selection did prevail. On to Thursday then, two selections for you. And it is a really good card at Hamilton Park, where the advance going is good. It would be lovely to see a bit of rain. I know everybody wants to be out in the garden topping up the tan, but rain would really help our two selections on Thursday. And the first of them is a horse called Air Raid. Air Raid is trained by Jed O'Keefe and is the mount of Jack Garrity. Jed trains a beautiful Middle and Moor in North Yorkshire in Wensleydale. And of course he's had some very good horses, flat end jumps, including the jump star Sam Spinner, amongst others. But this Air Raid's a bit useful, especially at Hamilton. He's run there 3 times and he's won 3 times, including this race 12 months ago. This is the Scottish Stewards' Cup handicap over 6 furlongs. Now last year he won it very nicely. He has £2 more to carry. He's only had the one start this year because of the COVID setback to racing. He ran at Royal Ascot, showed plenty of speed and then got tired. It was the classic run of a horse that needed the outing, so hopefully he should be spot on. One thing worth bearing in mind about Air Raid is he's won on good ground, but he seems to be that little bit better when there's a bit of juice in the ground. And so if there is any rain, something that, let's be fair, isn't uncommon in that part of Scotland, then it would certainly help the chance of Air Raid. And I'm surprised to see the early pricing with William Hills of 17-2. That's 8.5-1 each way. 17-2 each way, Air Raid. Now for me that's big, and I'm going to be having a bit of that because I think he'll start shorter. So Air Raid is the one for me, especially if there's a little bit of rain. Up against him, I was interested to see that Cold Stare is put in as the early favourite at 9-4 for David O'Mara. Now, he ran a very good race, went second at Haydock last time out, Cold Stare. But if Air Raid is a horse who needs a bit of juice in the ground, Cold Stare, on everything we know, is a horse who needs bucket loads of rain. And unless it's soft or heavy, I'll be surprised if he's good enough. And I think the 9-4 on offer early is very stingy. I think he'll be nearer a 7-2 chance myself. But it's Air Raid that we're with each way in that race, the race at Hamilton Park, which is their 2 o'clock, the Scottish Stewards' Cup handicap. Now, the other recommendation we have for you is in the 3 o'clock race there at Hamilton. It's a listed race, just the 5 runners, but a very good field for the 1 mile and 3 furlongs Glasgow Stakes, due off at 3 o'clock. It's a good race for favourites. 6 of the last 9 have won this race, so the market leaders are worth a very close look. And Subjectivist is the one who is put in early favourite. He was second over 1 mile and 3/4 at Haydock last time out, trained by Mark Johnston, who's won the race before, and Johnston also saddles Tulip Fields, who could be the outsider but is not without a chance. And he's an interesting runner. is subjective. He's third in the King George V handicap prior to finishing second at Royal Ascot, so he's got a touch of class. William Haggis has got an interesting runner called Convict. He's popped those cheek pieces on to get the horse to just concentrate a little bit more. It was a winner at Newmarket last season in October, and then ran just an ordinary sort of race first time out when needing it at Royal Ascot. And there's also Arrow of Gold, who's only had one run, and that was in a maiden race at Thirst just 3 weeks ago, and eventually he picked up well in the closing stages to win nicely, but this is a much tougher race. It is interesting that Kevin Ryan steps him up from a maiden straight to a listed contest, so he obviously thinks the horse has got ability, but I'll pass on him. I think he might just find this a little bit much for him, unless he is very special. But for me, it's Tritonic who you want to be on here. He's going to be possibly a 2-to-1 shot, maybe a bit of 9-4. Trained by Alan King and ridden by Holly Doyle. Holly Doyle, whose boyfriend Tom Marquand is riding Convict, so that's interesting. But Tritonic is a horse I really like. He was a good 2-year-old last season, winning twice and running well in a group race. And he's just had the one start so far this season. His first ever run in a handicap, it was at Royal Ascot, and he ran an absolute blinder, finishing second there in the Golden Gate handicap, one of the new events they put on at Royal Ascot this year, over 1.25 miles. Now, Tritonic was finishing better than anything in the closing stages. He was really coming home nicely, and the extra furlong at Hamilton will suit. He goes on good ground. He also handles a bit of give underfoot as well. He's got everything going for him. And for me, the most interesting fact here about this horse is that he's the first ever runner at Hamilton Park for Alan King, which is astonishing. And he's making the round trip, 720-mile round trip on his own. He's King's only runner, and that is a long way to go and not win. So I think they're very serious about Tritonic. I think it's his ideal trip. Holly Doyle gets on great with him, and I think he'll win the 3 o'clock on Thursday, the Glasgow Stakes at Hamilton. So 2 selections for you for Thursday. We'll be back on Friday with our bulletin for Saturday and Sunday, the weekend runners. But we'll wish you the best of luck as always, and enjoy some really great racing in Scotland on Thursday at Hamilton Park. Bye-bye for now.